in the lives of 55 people. Friends, families, and loved ones of those who have lost their lives are certainly very much in our hearts today, and certainly we are watching what is happening there with shock and horror. I also want to acknowledge the incredibly challenging circumstances that folks across this country are facing and the ongoing efforts of firefighters, volunteers, and everyday Canadians who are stepping up to support each other. 4 individuals have been killed while fighting fires this season in Canada, and of course, our thoughts are very much with their families, loved ones, and colleagues who are working so hard to keep Canadians safe. I know that Minister Sajjan will be providing a situation report on the current state of the wildfire season. However, I want to note that earlier today, Natural Resources Canada released updated modeling for the rest of the wildfire season. It showed that this year's already devastating season is not yet over, particularly for those of us who live here in British Columbia. It is important to note that the modeling anticipates risk levels, not actual fires. With good fortune, the extent of the risk does not materialize, but with preparation, we need to be ready for whatever happens this year and into the future. Every province and territory will need to be on high alert throughout the remainder of the wildfire season. Through August, fire risk will continue to be significant between BC and Western Quebec, with areas of highest risk along the BC coast, eastern and northern Manitoba, and eastern Ontario. La situation s'améliorera légèrement en septembre.
Will slightly improve in September with a drop in the risk in central and eastern Canada. However, Western Canada and in particular parts of BC will remain exposed to higher risk of new fires.
This, as I think, unfortunately, folks know all too well, has been Canada's most severe wildfire season on record. We have seen over 13 million hectares burned to date. The federal government is continuing to work to support Canadians and at-risk communities throughout this year's fire season and certainly for seasons to come. That means getting as many firefighters into the field as possible, more people with the skills, the knowledge, and expertise in the communities that need it the most. Alors que les provinces et les territoires sont les premiers responsables du
While the provinces and territories are first responsible for first responses to wildfires, the Government of Canada is aware of the fact that additional resources to fight these wildfires including interface, are needed to move forward.
Increasingly recognizing the need to further support at-risk communities to adapt to the impacts of climate change that we are seeing around us every day. Through the Fighting and Managing Wildfires and a Changing Climate Program Equipment Fund, the federal government is providing $256 million over 5 years to help equip provinces and territories with specialized tools that they need to fight wildland fires. This has been critical for our counterparts to procure essential resources such as vehicles, mobile units, avionics upgrades, hoses, pumps, and communication equipment. 6 provinces have initially participated in this program, and we expect all to do so next year. En outre, au cours des dernières années, le Canada.
However, over the past years in Canada has focused on the risk of wildfires and response to wildfires when they happen. This includes long-term investments to adapt to wildfires and mitigate the effects, and to modelize fire risk in Canada.
Natural Resources Canada has invested $170 million in the development of WildfireSat, the world's first purpose-built public satellite system for monitoring fires, which is targeted for launch in 2029. Once operational, WildfireSat will help to reduce wildfire losses and help us better defend communities and avoid unnecessary evacuations. Last month, I also announced, under the first phase of the government's $28 million Fighting and Managing Wildfires in a Changing Climate Program training fund, that we had signed agreements for pilot projects with 9 Indigenous communities and organizations to help train more than 300 Indigenous firefighters and 125 Indigenous fire guardians across Canada. We also, at that time, announced that the Government of Canada would be working with the International Association of Firefighters an organization that represents close to 340,000 firefighters and paramedics across Canada and the United States. We would work to advance a pilot project to increase Canada's wildfire fighting capacity in the wildland-urban interface. The wildland-urban interface is a crucial area that requires specialized training in which to operate. Over 10% of Canadians live in interface areas where urban communities intermingle with flammable environments like forests. In our fight against wildfires, the interface must be an urgent area of focus. Interface fires pose the greatest risks to lives and livelihoods and can have devastating impacts even when contained, like the spreading of thick smoke and evacuations that obviously can cause immense stress for residents and families. Certainly right here in North Vancouver is one example of a thriving community calling the interface home. And as folks may know, we have had 3 incidents, interface-related incidents in North Vancouver just in this summer. By investing
directly into our capacity to deal with interface fires, Canada can assume that we are better set to fight intense wildfires that threaten our people, to protect ourselves, our families, and our loved ones.
Today, I am certainly very pleased to announce the details of our partnership with the IAFF, representing a contribution of $400,000 to the IAFF's Responding to the Interface program. This funding will support a pilot project to train structural firefighters to respond to fires in the interface. Specifically, this will help to train 25 instructors to deliver wildfire response training programs in Kamloops, which I understand happened as recently as last week, which will equip over 300 structural firefighters from across Canada with the skills, the expertise, and the knowledge they need to fight dangerous interface fires. The training delivered through this pilot project will increase Canada's firefighting capacity, making sure we have more firefighters protecting the communities that need it the most, while also allowing us to learn important best practices and identify barriers to effective wildfire fire training. Phase 2 of the Government of Canada's training program will fully launch next year and will be informed by the lessons learned through today's pilot project with the IAFF and others like it. I would like to take a moment specifically to commend the IAFF for this proposal. After we announced the Fighting and Managing Wildfires in a Changing Climate Program Training Fund, it was actually the IAFF who came to us with this proposal and showed us just how impactful fires can be in the interface and how our partnership could make a real difference in protecting Canadians and our communities. It was a convincing and important proposal, one that after reviewing we decided we had to fund. So to the IAFF, I would say thank you for your initiative, your partnership, and all that you are doing in helping the federal government to build up wildfire fighting capacity, especially in critical interface areas. This is one of the many investments that we are making to build the capabilities that Canadians will need moving forward by training more firefighters and working with Indigenous communities, provinces, territories, and others to build more resilient and safer communities. Before I turn things over to Minister Sajjan, I just want to say a couple of words about the big picture here. It is certainly the case that wildfires have always occurred across Canada. But what is new is the frequency and the intensity. And the science is very clear here. The root cause of this is climate change. That is why this year's wildfire season has been so instructive. It has shown us what the future will increasingly look like if we do not take action to reduce emissions. It has shown us the costs that a failure to act would bring to our health, our environment, and our economy, and our communities. That is why Canada has one of the most comprehensive and detailed climate plans that exists anywhere in the world, detailing not only how we will cut emissions and protect biodiversity, but also how we can build a prosperous low-carbon economy for the future. This is very much a whole-of-government approach at the federal level, from planting more trees to ensuring we have affordable, reliable, clean electricity. In fact, earlier this week, I laid out our vision to bring clean, affordable, and reliable power to every region of Canada to help to ensure we have a prosperous economy and a healthy environment for generations to come. And it's not just about fighting climate change going forward. It is also about adapting to what is already baked into our future. And that's why investments like this one are really important, making sure that we are ready to respond to more intense wildfires now and into the future. Government's first priority must be to protect Canadian lives and livelihoods, and increasingly this starts with accepting the scientific reality of climate change and taking thoughtful, impactful action to address it, as we are doing with this announcement today. So let me once again thank the IFF for their partnership and for hosting us today, and all of their members and the firefighters from across Canada and around the world who are helping us through this particularly difficult wildfire season. Thank you very much for joining us today. Merci beaucoup.